This module is about racism, safety from oppression and prejudice. As Nelson Mandela said, no one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin or his background or his religion. People must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. For love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. So what is the purpose of this module? Who are the stakeholders when you think about racism? Is it just black people and white people? Is it not perhaps everyone? What are their cultural frameworks? Maybe they grew up in a family where they mistreated people who are of color. Maybe they grew up in a family that treated everybody equally. Maybe there was a religious belief that affected how they treated other people. Under which ethical framework would they make decisions about situations where minorities are present? It could be that you feel that you live by the virtue approach, and that one of those virtues is that you treat people equally and fairly. Forms of racism. Institutional, actions of organized groups of people. This may be difficult to see. This is a really old ad. Look at these homes now, an entire block ruined by Negro invasions. Every house marked X now occupied by Negroes. Save your home, vote for segregation. Forms of racism. Overt, intentional, and conscious awareness. Behavior is the same as beliefs. From February 20th of 1929, no dogs, no Negroes, no Mexicans. This is in El Paso, Texas. Forms of racism. Covert. Without intention or conscious awareness, your behavior is different from your belief. Here's this comedian named Robert Tran. He says, "When I hear someone say you should never say the N-word, it's usually followed up with the most unintentional racist statement. They'll go, you better be careful saying that word, because if you say it, you're going to get shot. Wait, so you think every black person just has a gun on them at all times?" Forms of racism. Systemic racism. Institutional racism or systemic racism describes forms of racism which are structured into political and social institutions. It occurs when organizations, institutions, or governments discriminate either deliberately or indirectly against certain groups of people to limit their rights. See Race Forward, the Center for Racial Justice Innovation. Racism stereotypes. Muslims are not all terrorists. This kid can glasses. I can actually see you. My hair is real. I'll marry whomever I want. I am not a color. I will not cut your grass. We're not all Mexican. Not all Asians are studious, have squinty eyes, and speak the same language. I am not white trash. Civil rights in the U.S. January 23rd of 1964. The 24th Amendment abolishes the poll tax, which originally had been instituted in 11 southern states after Reconstruction to make it difficult for poor blacks to vote. See the Civil Rights Timeline. Civil rights in the U.S. September 24th, 1965. Asserting that civil rights laws alone are not enough to remedy discrimination, President Johnson issues Executive Order 11246, which enforces affirmative action for the first time. It requires government contractors to take affirmative action toward prospective minority employees in all aspects of hiring and employment. Civil rights in the U.S. April 4th, 1968, in Memphis, Tennessee, Martin Luther King, at age 39, is shot as he stands on the balcony outside his hotel room. Escaped convict and committed racist James Earl Ray is convicted of the crime. April 11th, 1968, President Johnson signs the Civil Rights Act of 1968, prohibiting discrimination in the sale, rental, and financing of housing. Civil rights in the U.S. March 22nd, 1988. Overriding President Reagan's veto, Congress passes the Civil Rights Restoration Act, which expands the reach of non-discrimination laws within private institutions receiving federal funds. Civil rights in the U.S. November 22nd, 1991. After 2 years of debates, vetoes, and threatened vetoes, President Bush reverses himself and signs the Civil Rights Act of 1991, strengthening existing civil rights laws and providing for damages in cases of intentional employment discrimination. Racism on a global scale. you can check out these 3 websites: the United Nations Human Rights website, 50 Years of Fighting Racism, and the top 12 most racist countries, which I'm sorry to say includes the United States. You will be watching this video in order to complete your quiz, Colorblind or Color Brave. This is a talk by Melody Hobson. This is what she says. I'm actually asking you to do something really simple. Observe your environment at work, at school, at home. I'm asking you to look at the people around you purposefully and intentionally. Invite people into your life who don't look like you, don't think like you, don't act like you, don't come from where you come from, and you might find that they will challenge your assumptions and make you grow as a person. You might get powerful new insights from these individuals, or like my husband, who happens to be white. You might learn that black people, men, women, and children use body lotion every single day. One of the assignments that you might do is called Dealing with Uncomfortable Conversations. And Melody Hobson says, if we can just learn to deal with our discomfort and just relax into it, we'll have a better life. So you know, if you've done a workout, at the end you stretch, and if you allow yourself to relax into the stretch, it actually works out better for you than stressing and get tense because you're stretching.